Hello, everybody. Welcome to our next FB Live training. You are watching this, whether you're watching this on YouTube or you're watching this on Facebook in our private community, you are now in the realm of fire your inner critic, find your inner badass, and finally build your business. For those of you who are going to be watching this or who are watching this on YouTube, I'm just going to put a little disclaimer here. This is the last FB Live training that I'm going to be sharing on YouTube. So if you like what you're seeing, if you like what you're experiencing on YouTube in the form of these FB Live trainings, you will have to join the group. You'll have to join us in the private Facebook community. Just submit your request. You can find us at facebook.com/groups/fire your inner critic. But this is the last FB Live episode training that I'm actually going to share on YouTube. After that, you will only get the FB Live training in our private community where there are amazing entrepreneurial things happening every single day. Okay, so I'm going to talk about something that all of us, whether we have started one business or many businesses, whether we're thinking about starting a business, a huge mistake that we all have made at one time or another. And namely, that mistake is asking entrepreneurial advice from non-entrepreneurial people. In other words, hey Don, in other words, have you ever thought about starting a business or began working on a business, even a side business, a consulting business, a coaching business, and the first place you go to advice is the place you think you should go to advice? It's a friend, it's a family member, it's a partner or a spouse, and you think, man, they love me, they care about me, let me just see what they think about my business idea. And you do that because you think because they care so much about you, that's the right person to seek wise counsel from. Here's the problem. You cannot seek wise counsel from people who are not wise in the arena that you're seeking counsel from. So what we're going to talk about on today's FB Live training is this: the self-sabotage that comes with asking non-entrepreneurs for advice. Because we've all done it. We've all asked our best friends. We've all asked our siblings. We've all asked people that love us, what should I do in my business? But here's the thing, and I say this to clients all the time: do not share your vision with people who can't see. And unfortunately, non-entrepreneurs have a totally different paradigm of life and business and work and making money than entrepreneurs do. Now, that's not to say that you don't have people who are both full-time employees and entrepreneurs. You've got both. However, a lot of us are going to we're seeking advice about building a business from people who A, have never built a business, B, have no interest really in building a business, C, have been employees their entire lives, or D, tried the entrepreneurial route, gave up too soon, have stuck with a job that they don't like, and are giving you advice from the filter of their past failure. So let's talk today about that self-sabotage that comes. Let's talk about it because number one, you've got to set boundaries and criteria for who you share, especially in the conception stages of a business, who you share your business vision with. Here's the reality about getting advice about building a business. If they haven't lived it, they can't advise it. That's rule number one. If they haven't lived the entrepreneurial journey, and when I say if they haven't lived it, if they haven't built a business to the level of success that you're looking for, if they haven't built the website, if they haven't built the blog, if they haven't, if you want an office somewhere in town, if they have never had an office for their business in town, if they've never filed LLC paperwork, if they haven't lived it, they can't advise it. That's rule number one. So you can rule out who you talk to about building this business, because if they haven't done it, don't go to them. They can give you lots of advice about other things that they're really good at or that they've done. But if they haven't lived it, they can't advise it. That's rule number one. Otherwise, you're getting advice on something that is not in their wheelhouse, that they don't have experience with, that they haven't lived. And then you're going to take that advice, but you're going to sabotage yourself because you're taking advice in an arena that they've never been in from them. See the problem? So rule number one, if they haven't lived it, they can't advise it. Rule number two, and this is the thing to understand about why you do not want to ask non-entrepreneurs for entrepreneurial advice. Non-entrepreneurs define risk and safety differently than entrepreneurs. And if you're somebody who works full time and then also has started a business, you know this is true. As somebody who works full time and has a business, I can tell you, I've had to struggle with the employee mentality versus the entrepreneur mentality. They are different mindsets. There are different beliefs about risk and safety and certainty when you're an employee than when you're an entrepreneur. For example, employees, when you are just strictly an employee, their belief is that having a paycheck every 2 weeks, having a 401k, having pension and benefits, that is the epitome of safety. That is the epitome of security. Entrepreneurs, on the other hand, those of us who either straddle the fence between both or are fully in our business, guess what we know? The least safe place for you to ever be is one employer, one paycheck. You're writing your whole financial life on that. You know why? Because it's called employment at will. And if you don't know what employment at will is, look up the definition. Most companies are employment at will, which means you can leave the company anytime you want, and they can let you go for any given set of reasons and even not have a reason anytime they want. To an entrepreneur, that is the least secure, riskiest place to ever be, putting all of your financial eggs in the basket of one company. So second thing to really think about before you go ask somebody who's not an entrepreneur for advice about building a business, non-entrepreneurs define risk and safety differently than entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs know that the safest bet they are ever going to make is on their gifts, their talents, is on themselves. Period. Safest bet they're ever going to make. Employees think, ooh, but if I step out on my own, if I do this, if it's just me, I really need to have a company underneath me. No, you don't. No, you don't. And so it's really important that when you're in the beginning stages of building a business, especially if you're working full time, your mentor is not somebody who is of an employee mindset 100%. You want somebody who gets the employee mindset because they can help you break free of that, but they're in the entrepreneurial mindset most of the time, and they can help you tap into your own entrepreneurial mindset. So just remember, non-entrepreneurs define risk and safety way differently than entrepreneurs do. Third thing that leads to self-sabotage when we take business advice from those who are not in business for themselves. Non-entrepreneurs in general, they don't have that level of certainty and self-belief that is required to succeed when you're building a business on your own. An employee has the safety of a company. They have the safety of a corporate culture. Everything is established. Their job title is clear. What they're doing every day is clear. So there's not the same level of safety and of certainty and self-belief that they have to have when they're working for somebody else. Because a lot of that certainty and that sense of this is who we are is built into the company itself. But when you're an entrepreneur, you're building this baby from scratch. I mean, you are the organizational culture. You are the mission. You are the vision in the beginning. You have to decide who you're going to hire on your team. You have to decide what the organizational structure is. You have to build the business model. That takes a level of certainty of yourself, of self-belief that you don't have to have when you're a lawyer at a firm. You don't have to have if you're a physician working for a hospital. Hospital already has all of its missions, visions, values, everything laid out for you. If you're a doctor at a hospital, you just go, okay, fit me in. Let me go to the ER and work nights. You don't have to have the level of certainty and self-belief that you do when you're an entrepreneur. When you're an entrepreneur, your level of self-belief and certainty gotta be solid from the beginning. That's the challenge for most people. It's gotta be solid. Hey, Lara. Hey, Sandra. Good to see you. So non-entrepreneurs do not have to have the same level of self-belief and certainty that entrepreneurs do. So that's why when you go to a non-entrepreneur asking them for business advice and you leave the conversation feeling less certain about yourself and less secure in your ability to succeed, and your self-belief seems to be lower when you've talked to them, the reason why somebody who's not an entrepreneur doesn't have to have as high a level of self-belief and certainty as you do. You are building this thing from scratch. You are standing on the belief in your talents and your gifts and the purpose and calling you have. That requires a level of self-belief and certainty that an employee doesn't have to have when they're working for somebody else. So just know that going to somebody who's not an entrepreneur, who's never been an entrepreneur, and asking them for business advice is gonna tend to make you wobble on your level of certainty and belief, because they are coming from the paradigm of working for somebody else and having so many of those systems already built and in place for them. So that's the third thing. Fourth and final thing I'm going to talk about in terms of the self-sabotage that comes with asking non-entrepreneurs for advice. Limitations. So for those of us who've been in the full-time employment world, who've straddled a full-time job as we're building a business, for those of us who are still doing it, we fight with this idea of, okay, what's my limit? You know, what are my limits? And when you're getting business advice from somebody who's never started a business, or who's not started an online business if you've got an online business, or somebody who's been an employee their whole lives, they've got a pension plan waiting for them at 70 or 65, and they firmly believe that the key to security is your 401k, your salary, your benefits, and they live for the weekends and their 2-week vacations a year. The problem that you're going to have in taking their advice is that you're going to live, if you take their advice, according to the non-entrepreneur's limits. And when you live according to a non-entrepreneur's limits, you've already failed in business. You've already failed, because the ability to be a visionary is key to being an entrepreneur. The ability to believe past what you see in the current moment is key to being an entrepreneur. The ability to say, I don't know how it's all going to work out. I don't know how all of this is going to fall together, but I'm going to make a way. I'm going to find a way. I'm going to create a way. I'm not leaving until I create it. That is entrepreneurial thinking. Taking advice from somebody who's not an entrepreneur, the first sign of obstacle, the first sign of major failure in your business, they're going to go, ooh, see? You really need to have a backup plan. You really need to have a plan B. You really need like a steady job while you're building this. Maybe build this as a hobby part-time. You don't need to be hearing that. You're getting enough of that from your inner critic as you're building a business. You don't need the nonsense from a paradigm that does not fit you, because you are not somebody who's going to do the 9-to-5, and you're not somebody who's going to keep doing the 9-to-5 if you're doing it currently. You need somebody who's going to stand in the gap for you and say, go bigger, go bolder, do more. That didn't work. Okay, quit that strategy. What are you doing next? What are you trying next? You need the support of somebody who gets that this journey is a squiggly line. It is not a straight path. There's going to be lots of ups and lots of downs and lots of all over the places. You need somebody who's going to say to you, figure it out. Figure it out. Like, I don't care how many times you fail. Get back to work and figure it out. Non-entrepreneurs don't think that way. They see failure and they go, ooh, do you see what that means? Like, maybe this is not the right time. Maybe you shouldn't. Ooh, you need like a backup plan. No, you don't need a backup plan, because when you're betting on you, you are all you need. You just need to tap into different strategies. You need to try different things till you figure out what works. You need to get the mentors who are going to say to you, you're doing 80% in the business today. Do you really want to take 10 years to be successful? Okay, then ramp up to 100%. You know what 100% feels like. Do that. But a non-entrepreneur is not going to tell you that. They're going to see failure and then go, ooh. Whereas somebody who's in the entrepreneurial space goes, I failed 1,000 times. I fail every single day. Like, it's a hot mess over here. Join the club. We're braving the wilderness together. So at the end of the day, here's what I want to say. Oftentimes, we self-sabotage our business dream by sharing our vision with people who can't see, by seeking advice from people who haven't lived it, done it, living it now, doing it now. We self-sabotage by getting input from people who are not qualified to give it. So here's what I'm saying. Only seek your advice from the qualified. If they aren't where you want to be or better, and I say better every single time, don't take their advice. If they've never been an entrepreneur, let's say they own a mom and pop shop, but they've never built an online business and you are building an online business, don't ask them. They can help you build a 7-Eleven, but they can't help you build an online business. Go to people who have been where you are where you want to be, who've done it, who've lived it, who are still living it, and say to them, what do I do now? What do I do now? More than likely, you're going to tell you, figure it out. More than likely, you're going to tell you, keep working. More than likely, they're going to tell you, persist, fail, fast, forward, do it. But here's the thing. If you go to somebody who is not qualified, whose counsel is not wise counsel because they aren't living it, you are going to self-sabotage because they cannot give you what they cannot see. And they cannot see your vision. They haven't lived it. They haven't followed their own vision. So that's what I want to say. If you're watching on YouTube, you can join the